There's something I have today that I want us to share, and I'm going to use this question numbered 12 to be able to actually give more information concerning this information I have today. And I'll first be able to read the question to you, then be able to give you the relevant information needed for us to get a better understanding of this question. So the question reads, explain any two ways that an albino can embrace to survive better in their environment. You have been actually tasked to explain any ways that an albino can be able to use to survive better in the environment where he or she is able to get found. So the first thing you need to know is an albino is an individual that is suffering from a condition called albinism. And albinism is a situation whereby you are actually able to have some defectiveness in as far as a body of a human being is concerned. So if someone talks about albinism, then we should be able to actually associate this with the following. One, we know very well that a human being needs a particular protein, and this protein is called melanin, and others can pronounce it as melanin. Melanin is a protein that is synthesized along the DNA. And of course, the coding that occurs along the DNA that gets translated into a messenger ribonucleic acid can get used to synthesize or manufacture melanin. We actually looked at this at one time, that we have what you call a long strand. And this strand is able to have some codes. This double-stranded structure that is found in our genetic makeup is called DNA. This DNA can actually undergo what we call replication. And at the end of the day, we can actually develop a single-stranded structure called RNA. So I have a double-stranded structure, a long double-stranded structure that has codes. This long double-stranded structure found in our nucleus contains the genetic information in a coded form. This double-stranded structure can undergo replication to form what you call RNA. This RNA is the one that can be able to translate all this information into amino acids that can further be able to actually undergo a process called condensation to form a protein. So I'm actually looking at this in this manner. A DNA is double-stranded, a very long double-stranded structure that carries the genetic information in our nucleus in as far as our cells are concerned. This DNA has decided to undergo replication to form RNA. RNA is single-stranded. Look at that. And the only differences you can be able to get from this is as follows. One, DNA is double-stranded and very long. RNA is single-stranded, and it may not be as long as DNA. Number two, along the DNA, we have bases such as guanine, cytosine or cytosine, thymine, and adenine. Along the RNA, we have guanine, cytosine or cytosine, uracil, and adenine. So we expect to find thymine along the DNA and expect to find uracil along the RNA, but the other bases will remain constant. So we have to actually end up having guanine, cytosine, thymine, and adenine. On the DNA, which is long and double-stranded, we need to get guanine, cytosine, uracil, and adenine along the RNA, which is single-stranded. So during the condensation process or the translation of this genetic information into proteins, then we are supposed to actually find this, that in the process of making this protein called melanin, we expect to find two very important enzymes or two very important amino acids, and these are phenylalanine and tyrosine. So tyrosine and phenylalanine are the two very important amino acids that are needed in the making of this protein called melanin that determines our skin color and prevents us from harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. Unfortunately, an enzyme called tyrosinase that is responsible for the making of tyrosine amino acid is unable to get formed. Why? A particular base capitalized as A along the RNA that is responsible for the formation of tyrosinase enzyme that facilitates the formation of an amino acid called tyrosine is not present. There is a substitution that occurs such that the RNA that this human being has a defective base small a. So we have bases, guanine, cytosine, uracil, adenine along the RNA. We expect to find a capital A as one of our bases along that RNA. Remember, you are told that for every 3 bases, for example, if I talk about TTT, I need to get a particular amino acid. If I talk about CTA, I need to get a particular amino acid. If I talk about CUA, I need to get a particular amino acid. So what happens? This is called a base triplet. A base triplet, or you can also be able to call it a codon. So 3 bases along the RNA are able to actually get condensed to form an amino acid. And these 3 bases are referred to as a base triplet or a codon. So in other words, several codons or several base triplets along the RNA can form an amino acid. And those amino acids formed along that RNA can get condensed to form a protein like melanin. So we are actually expecting to find a capital A along that sequence. You see, along the RNA. But unfortunately, instead of having a CTA, for example, you're going to actually end up having a CTA. Look at that. So this is a defective base. Once this defective base is present, then tyrosinase enzyme fails to form. And once tyrosinase enzyme fails to form, tyrosine amino acid also fails to form. And once tyrosine amino acid fails to form, then there's no the formation of melanin as a protein. And once melanin fails to form, the person becomes an albino. The person develops albinism as a genetic disorder. What have I said? A DNA is double-stranded long structure found in our nucleus containing coded information that we refer to as the genetic information of an individual. This DNA undergoes replication to form an RNA, which is single-stranded. Along the DNA, we have what we call thymine as a base, but along the RNA, we have what we call uracil as a base. Those are the differences. The DNA has a sugar called deoxyribose, but the RNA has a sugar called ribose. Deoxyribose is a sugar, deoxyribose, then ribose as a sugar. That is why it's called deoxyribonucleic, and it's also called ribonucleic. So you can see. We've said along these strands, whether DNA or RNA, we have bases. For example, 3 bases along an RNA can form an amino acid, CTA, TTT, CUA. These bases form what we call a base triplet or a codon. Unfortunately, for an albinism disorder to actually occur, then that means that where there is a normal base capitalized A, there is a substitution with a defective base small a. Once that forms, tyrosinase enzyme fails to form. Remember, enzymes are also proteins. Tyrosinase enzyme that actually catalyzes the formation of melanin fails to form. That means tyrosine cannot actually be able to form. And once tyrosine fails to form, then that means melanin cannot form, regardless of whether phenylalanine is present or not. At the end of the day, melanin fails to form, the person becomes an albino. Albinism creeps in. One, you actually find these people having what you call a light skin. Look at this. White eyes and pink what? Oh, you can actually be able to have a light skin, you see, pink eyes and white hair. You see, melanin has failed to form. They need one sunscreen lotions to get applied on their skin so that their skin that lacks melanin does not become so susceptible to the light rays from the sun. You see, because these light rays from the sun can actually be very harmful to that extent of causing what you call skin cancer. So the melanin that she's supposed to give the skin color to this individual and be able to trap the harmful rays is absent. They need what we call sunglasses because their eyes are very sensitive to bright light, so that they can actually be able to get protected from this light that is very bright and that will cause damage to the rods and cones along the retina within their eyes. Thank you so much.